No, but a lot of people ask me about that and say, what's the secret of Mrs. Brown? And I don't know if there is any secret about Mrs. Brown. She's a bitch.
Imagine British sitcom without Mrs. Brown's boys. Hard, isn't it? Love it or hate it. This sitcom burst onto the television scene in 2011 and was a cultural phenomenon. Its rude humor, its bombastic characters, and its deliberately old-fashioned aesthetic made it a standout from the smooth, high-gloss sitcoms of the new era. Noisy, messy, and stubbornly unfashionable, it was all the critics hated and all the viewers loved. Behind the scenes, though, over the years, things didn't quite go as planned. A number of the main cast members quit, some quietly, others amid scandal. Why did they leave one of Ireland and the UK's most watched programs? Were there interpersonal conflicts, creative disagreements, or something more profound? To find that out, we must look to the history of the show and the very basis on which it was created. Long before it became one of the biggest BBC One comedies, Mrs. Brown's Boys had its humble beginnings far, far away from the TV studios. Its origins date back to the humble stages of Ireland back in the early 1990s. Brendan O'Carroll, then a struggling stand-up comedian and writer, conceived something that was not only going to transform his life, but also career. Emulating the acid-tongued, perpetually stoic Irish matriarchs he had grown up with, he devised a character, Agnes Brown. Agnes was a foul-mouthed, no-holds-barred, disorganized yet sympathetic woman capable of launching an insult with the same vigor she employed to keep her family intact. O'Carroll initially brought her to life in a radio drama and later in his self-published book The Mammy, paving the way for the stage phenomenon to come. Surprisingly, Agnes Brown was not initially intended to be portrayed by Brendan himself. He had hired an actress to play the role in one of his first plays. But when she didn't appear for a performance, O'Carroll made a snap choice. He rummaged through his costume trunk, pulled on a wig, a dress, and took on the role. What could have been a one-night cure became a career-defining moment. The audience adored it. There was something unadulterated, unpredictable, and side-splitting in seeing a man being made up into an Irish mammy before their very eyes. Mrs. Brown was not created on the page. She was created on the stage, in entirety, loud and indelible. The plays flew. Brendan toured Ireland, then the UK, introducing Mrs. Brown to working-class audiences who saw pieces of their own families in the character. The productions were loose, unplanned occasionally, and studded with bits where the actors broke the fourth wall, mocked the audience, or improvised on errors. It wasn't highbrow theater, and it never claimed to be, but it was amusing, roaringly, reliably amusing. By 2011, close to 2 decades since her first appearance, Mrs. Brown was finally adapted into the small screen. BBC One ordered a sitcom series of the character. Faithful to its theater origins, the show preserved much of the theater traditions. It was shot in front of an audience, errors and bloopers were not edited out, and characters often addressed the viewers at home directly. Critics panned it as old-fashioned, coarse, and tacky, but viewers did not agree. Millions watched, and overnight, Mrs. Brown's Boys was a sensation. Some of the magic was in the way that Brendan O'Carroll constructed his cast. He didn't simply cast actors, he surrounded himself with relatives and old friends. His wife, Jennifer Gibney, played Kathy, the daughter of Agnes. His son, Danny, played Dermot, and his daughter, Fiona, played Maria. Even his sister, Eilish, appeared as Winnie McGugan, Agnes's friendly neighbor and confidant. This arrangement produced an unshakable chemistry. The on-screen closeness was genuine because it was genuine, but it had its problems. Personal relationships and professional obligations intersected, and tensions inevitably arose with the passage of time. Nevertheless, the formula worked. Mrs. Brown's Boys was a sitcom, and so much more. It was a brand. Live tours filling up arenas, record-breaking Christmas specials, bestsellers on DVDs, and even a feature movie, Mrs. Brown's Boys Movie, 2014. Although the critics tore it apart, the Irish and British audiences made it a box office hit. Brendan O'Carroll hadn't only invented a character, he'd constructed an empire. But as the empire expanded, things started to crack. Members of the cast started to leave, and the fans took notice. Every exit had a story behind it, every reworking of the show changed it, and collectively, they told the tale of how to keep a family sitcom going behind the scenes. One of the earliest departures came from Fiona O'Carroll, Brendan's real-life daughter, who played Maria Brown. Maria was the nice but strong-willed wife of Dermot and the voice of reason in the madness of the Brown household. Fiona had been there since the start, from the stage plays to the primetime BBC version. So, when in 2022 Fiona revealed that she would not be appearing on the live stage tour, fans were surprised. In interviews, she accounted for her decision candidly. Having been in the role for over a decade, she felt that she was living someone else's story and needed to create one of her own. A mother herself and now in her 40s, Fiona needed room to develop beyond Mrs. Brown's boys. Rumors swirled about tensions within the family, but both Fiona and Brendan squashed such gossip. Brendan publicly defended his daughter's choice, declaring, "She's my daughter first, not just Maria." The absence of Fiona was still felt. Maria had been the eye of the hurricane, the actress who kept the show's wackiness in check. In her absence, the waiting careened even more into hysteria, and longtime viewers took notice. Maybe no exit made a bigger impact than Rory Cowan's in 2017. Rory, the flamboyant and fabulous Rory Brown, was a fan's favorite. With his glamorous fashion, wicked wit, and effortless chemistry with Brendan's Agnes, he was an integral part of the show's emotional core. Cowan's path to the part was not traditional. He began working as a publicist for Brendan O'Carroll, assisting in the promotion of the stage plays. When the part of Rory Brown required a stand-in, Brendan recruited him temporarily. It was not supposed to be long-term, but Cowan was a natural fit. The audience adored him, and the role became his permanently. So, why did he quit? The reason was very personal. For years, Rory had taken care of his elderly mother while juggling the frenetic pace of touring and shooting. After she died, he was left exhausted, emotionally numb, and unable to derive pleasure from performing anymore. "I was unhappy on the show. I didn't like it. I needed to leave," he explained bluntly. Rory's part was reprised with Damien McKiernan, but fans never really took to the adjustment. There simply wasn't the same special something Cowan brought. The chemistry with Agnes never regained equilibrium. Nevertheless, Rory progressed. He appeared on the Irish soap Fair City, wrote a memoir, Mrs. Cowan's Boy, and kept on acting, but his absence created a permanent gap in Mrs. Brown's Boys. Whereas Rory Cowan's departure had been bittersweet, Gary Hollywood's was straight-out scandalous. Gary, who portrayed Dino Doyle, Rory's lover and the acerbic hairdresser, had been a popular favorite for years. His dynamic with Rory was wonderful, and his larger-than-life persona brought Elon to the cast. But Gary suddenly quit the show in 2020. The reason wasn't personal development this time, it was cash. Gary said that he and Damien McKiernan were paid much less than the rest of the cast for the Christmas and New Year specials. When he complained, he said he was told to get lost. The incident spiraled into a court fight, with Gary suing Brendan O'Carroll and the producers for unfair dismissal and discrimination. The case was widely reported and polarized viewers. Some sided with Gary, saying he had been unfairly done by after all those years of dedication. Others sided with Brendan, saying it was a misunderstanding. Whatever happened, the damage had already been done. Dino disappeared from the show without explanation, leaving a big void in the narrative. Jennifer Gibney's case was unique. As Kathy Brown, Agnes's uptight daughter, she had always been the straight man of the show, the sane, clever foil to her mother's lunacy. In real life, she was Brendan's wife, and there was a peculiar added bonus to their on-screen mother-daughter relationship. But as the show progressed, Kathy was seen less and less. Fans overreacted and speculated about drama behind the scenes, But there was a simpler explanation. Jennifer and Brendan both felt that it was time to tone down her role in order to provide an opportunity for the other characters. Kathy wasn't exactly written out, but she became more of a background character. Nevertheless, she was missed. With Kathy's sarcasm and eye-rolling missing, the show rolled even more into slapstick. Some loved the transition, while others continued to miss the balance. Either way, Kathy's low-key exit heralded another shift in the show's central dynamic. When Damien McKiernan took over from Rory Cowan, he had a mission impossible. A former Mr. Ireland and not a professional actor, he attempted to put his own stamp on Rory Brown. His take was quieter, less flashy, more subdued. Some supporters welcomed him, others never. Off camera, however, there were tensions. Damien was rumored to be involved in the same wage argument that had seen Gary Hollywood leave. By 2020, Damien also had disappeared from the cast without notice, without goodbye. For viewers, it was another sharp reminder that the world of Mrs. Brown's Boys was not so bright behind the scenes as on television. Through all these exits, there is one constant: the show's influence. Love it or loathe it, Mrs. Brown's Boys has made itself a part of British and Irish comedy heritage. In a time of glossy, witty sitcoms and prestige TV shows, it has remained steadfast as something proudly lowbrow, proudly old-fashioned, and unashamedly itself. For Brendan O'Carroll, what started as an 11th-hour stage replacement became a comedy empire. For viewers, the laughter rolls on every Christmas, even if the cast appears slightly altered nowadays. And for those who departed, Fiona, Rory, Gary, Jennifer, Damien, each exit says something about family, loyalty, self-preservation, and the challenges of separating art from life. So, whose departure surprised you the most? Fiona walking away from Daddy's creation? Rory abandoning his beloved job after decades? Gary's theatrical departure over pay squabbles? Or Damien's silent exit? One thing is for sure, every exit altered Mrs. Brown's Boys forever.